Welcome to the Fallout Post-Apocalyptic Edition, where we are your number one source for all things reality TV. Today, we're going to be reviewing episode 20 of Big Brother Canada Season 9 and the 8th live eviction of the season. I'm Logan Murphy.
I'm Jordyn Lagace, also known as BB Can Source.
And we're here on a different day.
We are here on a different day.
We're
Feels
trying out
weird.
Saturdays. Trying out Saturday, y'all. Oh, Jordyn, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm attending this conference for work. If you're watching the YouTube version, you can see this lovely, beautiful shirt that I'm wearing. We love climate justice. Yeah, doing pretty good. Tired, as always. But regardless, we are here with all the fallout of episode 20. But before we get started, if you're watching with us live or after the fact on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing to Jordyn's channel, liking, commenting, sharing, telling all your friends that the Fallout is the absolute best. And if you're listening to us after the fact, wherever fine podcasts can be listened to, make sure you're doing the exact same thing, following, liking, commenting, sharing. If you don't want to see our faces, you can listen to the audio version, but I think we're pretty cute, so maybe you want to watch the YouTube version. Up to you. But without further ado, let's dive into it with a look that I didn't like from Marissa Cox.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
It was questionable.
Like, sorry, Marissa. Like, you look great. I just didn't like the dress.
So, my issue with the dress, Arissa always looks good.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt very 80s Sunday morning at church. And the length was a little questionable.
It was the length for me, honestly. Like, I love an 80s throwback moment with the puffed shoulders, but like the length was also just below the knee. And so I feel like this dress is probably meant for someone a little bit shorter than Arissa. She looked great. It was the dress for me personally. But beyond the dress, because I could talk about it honestly all night, we start this episode with the fallout of the veto. We've got a lot of crying. A lot of crying happened on Monday and Wednesday's episodes. But you know who isn't crying?
River.
Very that. But you know who isn't crying, Jordyn? Brayden. Brayden is not crying because Brayden somehow is not on the block.
Good for Brayden.
Honestly, this is just another testament to how good his social game has been. And I saw something online, I think it was today or last night, I can't remember, but it was talking about how it was a whole thread about like how Brayden isn't really playing a good game, and it stemmed from like Beth, like a couple comments that Beth has made saying that like, oh, Brayden's been carried to the end. And like, I would disagree only because literally all of his allies have been taken out back to back to back to back to back. And the only the only reason he is still here in the top 7, well now top 6, is because of his social game. Like, his social game has been absolutely flawless. Because even when the throuple is like, oh, we don't really know about Brayden, they're still keeping Brayden. Like, they're still holding on to Brayden, pulling him along, I guess you could say. But it's just a true testament to how good of a social game he's playing.
And it's a testament to the fact that he is such a good liar again.
Mm-hmm.
Because somehow he convinced them not to nominate him.
Shocked.
So, yay for Brayden.
But you know who was nominated? Kiefer. And Kiefer is, at this point, very upset. He's feeling betrayed by the throuple, and a lot of what we get from him at the start of the episode is, oh, I'm done. Oh, it's my time. Oh, I'm going home. So what does he decide to do, Jordyn? He spills almost all of his game information to Brayden. which I love.
Yeah, that's interesting to me too, because with giving your all that information, what else do you have to One thing about Big Brother is information is power.
Yes.
And what's Kiefer's purpose now that he has completely sold out Beth, Ty, and Jed? It just doesn't make sense for me.
I don't get it either. Yeah, so we get this like series over like the few days, like the first few days between veto ceremony and eviction. We get a lot of these bedtime conversations with Bray and Kiefer, where Kiefer's like, this is what the Sunsetters was, minus Tina. That is something that is, I want to point that out. Minus Tina. He's not throwing Tina under the bus at this point, which I appreciated. But it's basically like, this is the Sunsetters. We've been working together since like day 2. They worked together through whatever day 3 was that we still don't know about. Remember day 3, Jordyn?
Yes. One thing, you know who is planning on talking about day 3?
Who?
Icon legend Julie Vu.
Oh.
I don't know if you've seen her recent YouTube video, but she
will
did
be honest, I have not
say
seen
she
the
was
whole
going to
thing.
turn it into a little series. And she did mention that she might spill the tea on day 3.
Come on, day 3 tea. Yes. I'm on board for that. Honestly, I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I watched enough to get her a view or two, and I refreshed to make sure she was getting more views. Yeah, I haven't watched the whole thing, but I will definitely have to go do that. Especially if there's more day 3 tea coming. Like, I would just love to know that.
Yeah, she's making a series where she answers questions and stuff, and I think she's trying to make them shorter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why all the questions and stuff seems to be like it's going to get backed up. Like it's coming eventually.
I mean, honestly, you capitalized on those 5 days you were in the Big Brother house. I don't blame you.
You do that.
You do that. One thing I do want to talk about before we move into the stupid task that they had is we get a really good conversation with Bray and Ty talking about the representation in the Big Brother house, which, as we've been talking about all season, like this is the most diversity we've seen, I think, probably ever in a Big Brother house. The only ones that, as far as the English-speaking Big Brother houses, I think the only other series that may come close is UK. And I don't have any statistics on it directly, but UK was always good about their representation for the most part as well.
Bing Bang Bong.
Bing Bang Bong. Not related to BBUK, but Bing Bang Bong. But yeah, so we get Bray and Ty talking in the HOH, and they start talking about the George Floyd incident, I think is the right word. How he was killed. He was killed. Shouldn't have happened. And talking about like the Black Lives Matter movement as a whole. And I just really, really appreciated BB Can for putting this in, because I don't remember seeing this specifically on feeds. So I was really, really happy to see that not only are we getting the representation, but they're also showing these conversations and showing how important it is to have, at this point, 3 Black men and an Indigenous man still left in the Big Brother house. Like that is great for me, regardless of how I may feel about their gameplay. That's still just great, and I love to see it.
Yeah, representation is important, especially in this social climate.
Mm-hmm.
So it was lovely to see it mentioned on the eviction episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Jordyn, we get this stupid fucking chili pepper task that I would like to talk about for maybe the rest of the podcast, honestly, because I just have thoughts and feelings and opinions. So they get these peppers in the pantry, and they're marked 1 to 7, and everyone in the house has to eat a chili, and the 1 through 7 designates like how spicy they are. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Well, maybe they'll get like a ghost pepper or something. Like, that's hot. No, their hottest pepper, Jordyn, was a habanero. And I said,
well, what I
excuse me?
do, well, what I do know is that task would have sent me to an ER.
Yes, it would have. Jordyn would not have been able to participate. They probably would
The
have
one
not
time
done
I
that
don't want to
task.
do a Big Brother task, that's the one I wouldn't be able to do.
Fair. I think I just have a skewed vision just because I am born and raised in the American Southwest. So I have a very desensitized palate when it comes to spice. I like a good amount of spice in my food. But the order, so Tara gets a pepperoncini, which is not even hot. Like, what the fuck is happening? I'm just like, can Canadians, like, this is a genuine question, Jordyn. Can Canadians not handle their spice?
I mean, I used to be able to handle my spice.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people around me like spice, so I don't know if that's the case.
Mm-hmm. Because it was just like, they start with Tara and a pepperoncini. Tina gets an Anaheim chili, which I use regularly in a lot of what I cook. And so I was like, that's very familiar to me. Kiefer got a poblano, also something I love using. If you're listening at home, stuffed peppers, but instead of bell peppers, put it in poblanos. It'll change your life. Not that this is Cooking with Logan, but if you would like to see Cooking with Logan as a segment on the Fallout TV, comment below. Let us know. I will do it. I don't
Maybe
mind.
we should bring in a special guest for a cooking segment.
Oh, I would love that. I've got a few people in mind, so I'm interested to see who you also have in mind.
I have one person alone.
I hate you. Moving on. So Jed gets a jalapeno, and Jed gets a jalapeno at 4 out of like 7 of the spice. And I was like, huh? What? I would have just taken the jalapeno, cut it in half, added some cream cheese, wrapped it in bacon, threw it in the oven, and made it a jalapeno popper. Like, that's what I would have done. And then we got Bev with a Hungarian pepper. Brayden gets a Thai chili, which are very spicy, and he just straight up just eats it like it's nothing. And then a few seconds after, it's like, I need all the ice cream in my mouth right now. That's what would have sent me to the ER. I wouldn't have been able to do the ice cream. I would be like, can someone get me some soy milk, almond milk, coconut milk, any of the alternative milks, please?
Frosty.
I can do Frosties. They still mess with my stomach, but I can do a Frosty. Absolutely. And then Ty finishes off with a habanero, which are spicy, but also something that I use like fairly frequently. So I was like, I'm used to it. But I can get that maybe like spice isn't everything for them. But regardless, they all do it. And they win a spicy soiree. And I said, no, this naming. You can't call anything spicy without having spicy V.
Obviously, I tuned in a little bit late, so I didn't really see the pepper thing. Did they at least get liquor for getting the party?
So. I'm pretty sure they did, because feeds were down that entire night. So I would assume it was a party. But people are always also saying that today they're getting another party because they haven't had one. And so I'm just confused as to like, how many parties have they had? And if so, when were they? And was there a party on day 3? That's really like the honest information that I want to know. Also, speaking of Spicy V, have you seen the photos from Jury, Jordyn?
No, I have not.
Oh my god. If you haven't, go on Twitter. It's a little bit of digging, but it's literally just Vic and Ro being adorable together and doing Jury things. And I'm just like, this twist that Arissa talked about, that we'll talk about in a little bit, like, why couldn't you have used it then? Why? But anyway, so the rest of the episode is just a whole lot of waffling. As per usual with this house. Are we surprised at this point? No, not at all, not in the slightest. So Kiefer goes to Jed because he feels like Jed is the easiest person to convince, to keep him. And Kiefer's pledging, again, loyalty to the throuple, like final four with the throuple. He says final four with Jed and Beth, and then a final two with Jed. And so this is the first time that Kiefer has talked to Jed specifically, and also, I believe, the throuple as a whole. This is the first time Kiefer's talking to them about, like, endgame things. Because up until now, they had really just been, oh, we'll get the final four and we'll duke it out at that point. And so Jed is kind of impressed with this, goes to Ty, and then goes to the throuple and is kind of like, but y'all should really keep me because evicting Tina is not only getting rid of a duo, but getting rid of a trio in the pre-90s / the olds alliance. And all this time, I'm like, oh, good, Kiefer's doing a lot of campaigning. Good for him. Tina, what are you doing?
Tina's laying on her bed.
She came in with some tea at some point and said, it'd be a really bad move to get rid of me. And that's it. And I'm like, Tina, I love you, but what are you doing? Like, I just...
She's enjoying her tea on the bed.
And I'm just like, do you want to stay or not, Tina? Like... I want you to stay. I want you to fight. Like, it's just frustrating as someone who will probably never be cast for Big Brother. Like, if you get cast and you're in and you're not, like, fighting until the very end, like, I get frustrated. And it doesn't really matter who it is.
Brother?
Tina was. And then she stopped. And as much as I may love Tina, like, I do have a lot of love for Tina because I think she's a lovely person. I think she played a pretty good game up until, the last couple weeks. And then in the last couple weeks, especially this week, she's kind of just like, it is what it is. Meanwhile, Kiefer's doing everything he can to stay. And so eventually...
And what I don't... Yeah.
I don't know.
I think changing your mind after you put someone on the block, I think it was stupid gameplay. TBH.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So yeah, we get to this point where the boys are pretty much just like, why are we taking out Kiefer when we could take out Tina and then still have Kiefer as a number? So they go to Kiefer during the spicy soiree, whatever the fuck it was. And they're like, so we're keeping you. And they have this like bro celebration in the Expedia room. And I'm just like, this is too much testosterone for me. I can't handle this. Like, can we not, please? And so later that night, Jed tells Beth, oh, we decided to keep Kiefer. And they hadn't even discussed it with Beth. Beth hadn't even had a one-on-one with Kiefer to like talk about it. And so Beth gets pissed. And honestly, rightfully so. Like, yeah. I was kind of team Beth in this situation. Not that I want to be, or not that I am in general, but I just felt like that's shitty that the boys were like, oh, we're keeping you. When Beth is literally a vote. Like, Beth, very, very, a crucial vote. And Beth very easily could have said, oh, I'm just going to evict Kiefer and take Tina. Because honestly, I do think Tina was better for Beth's game.
I would agree. I think in that moment, the way they didn't consult with her, wouldn't you think as an alliance that maybe you're not as tight with them as you think you are?
I would. Beth probably won't, but I would.
Like, choices.
Very that. And then we get to the eviction. Tina says, make a big move. What are you at?
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. And Kiefer says, I'm a good person. I come from good people. Keep me because you said that's what you were going to do, even though you tried to renom me and get me out and blindside me. And then they pull the biggest dumbass move, probably of the season. And by a vote of 3-1, Tina was evicted. And I am sad.
What I think, it was a bad move, 100%. You would think after they made the decision without Beth, why did Beth not make Jed do it? I would have tied that shit up.
I absolutely would have tied it. Well, my question is, like, when did they tell Brayden? Because the one vote to evict Kiefer was obviously Tara, which honestly, props to Tara, because a lot of people this season have not had a backbone. Austin and Brayden, and like have voted out their friends, and so it's just like I really appreciate that Tara was like, you know what? No, this is my friend. I'm not going to vote to evict her. I was like, thank you, Tara. This week has me rooting for Tara. What is happening? What is happening, Jordyn?
It's been a week.
It has. And then we get Tina Thistle's.
Thankfully, the week has not been very predictable.
Not in the slightest. And we will get there. So we get Tina Thistle's eviction speech. What are you at, Jordyn? What are you at?
I'm very upset.
What are you at?
Off to jury. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. And I've made my feelings known on Twitter as well. But Tina, if you ever get to watch this, thank you for being such a wonderful representation in the house, for just being such a genuine soul. Because we don't get a lot of those in Big Brother anymore. And I really appreciate you just being who you are, and especially to Sherry as well for doing such a good job with her social media throughout the season. Just thank you. You're both lovely. And yeah.
Tina, wear those leather pants more often.
Absolutely. The leather pants on Tina Thistle, icon. Arissa in the exit interview is kind of just like, what happened? And her read is not the best. But she says that she feels like this may have been the move all along, when in hindsight, the move was Tara, but Tara won, but you didn't win the veto, Tara did. So if you had won the veto, Tara would be sitting where you are. But she hopes that the game changes and that there's like a power shift.
One challenge for Tina.
I know, and she was so close to the TikTok challenge too.
And I would have liked to have seen Miss Tina Thistle have a Marsha task.
I would like to see a Marsha task, period, Jordyn. Where is Marsha?
Marsha the Moose, what are you at?
This is my international call. Marsha at Marsha _ the Moose. Where are you? I need to know that you're okay. Like, why aren't you in the Big Brother house? What's happening? Is Marsha in the ball pit? Wait, is Marsha in the ball pit, Jordyn?
if Marsha pops out of all those balls, I will be shook.
I would be very excited.
She'll raise from the heavens the balls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so BB Can knows that we don't like waiting for HOHs, so they said, "Here, have an HOH comp in its entirety," and I said, "Great."
One. Okay, so we were playing along.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of us would have done well. The stuff that tripped me up was stuff that they didn't really show. Like, I wanted the audio for.
Yeah.
What did you think of this challenge and the audio clips?
This is a challenge I definitely think I would do well in. I think I got 6 out of 7, and I think you got 5.
Yeah, and the only reason I got 5 was because we didn't hear, like, I didn't hear the full question at times, too.
Yeah. But I love this comp. We see a version of this. It's usually the double HOH.
Mm-hmm.
And so I loved seeing it just like in a normal week. And a lot of them were on it. Like the one that I was curious, and I actually want to pose this question to you. The one person that didn't do as well as I thought they would have was Kiefer. Do you think he threw it?
I wouldn't be surprised if he threw it.
Because he only got like 3 of them. And for someone who got a perfect score in the double eviction HOH memory competition, it kind of surprised me that he was getting all of those wrong. So I personally definitely think he threw it because it would not have been advantageous for him to win this HOH.
Yes.
But you know who it was advantageous to win the HOH, Jordyn? Tara! Because Tara won!
And she won her second challenge of the season.
In a row.
In a row.
In a row. And so I was like, what? And the commercial break had me rooting for Tara. And I said, what is the issue here?
But the one thing, like, I think she could have won the invisible HOH too.
She was very close.
She was close.
She was in the tie. She was in the tie for the invisible HOH. Yeah, so Tara is the head of household, which honestly, I'm here for. And we were excited. We were happy call watching together.
I am here for it, especially because finally, the trio should be broken out this week. Broken up.
Potentially. I would love to see them broken up. But unfortunately, Jordyn, there's a fake double eviction. A fake double. At final 6.
Big brother. What? Why?
Where was this fake double when Vic and Ro were taken out together? Where was this fake eviction when Austin was taken out, when Julie was taken out, when Josh was taken out? Why are we doing it now? Like, it makes no sense. And beyond just like my faves going out early, like it makes no sense to do it at 6.
I think I think I had brought it up earlier this season that there would probably be some kind of battle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I lost hope of a battle. And then
you did also mention the first double eviction. So you were on it. You had it. You clocked it. But I'm just like, why a fake double when now one of the trio was going to get evicted?
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, like, realistically, Tara can't play.
No.
So it wouldn't surprise me if it's Brayden and Tara versus one of the bigger boys. So that's kind of shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of
Because-
annoyed by the whole situation because I feel like one of Brayden or Tara is going to get fucked. The trio is going to survive, and we're literally going to be back where we were, and it's going to be fucking frustrating, and I'm going to be really mad about it and then vent my opinions on this podcast. So,
Yeah, because really nothing's changing.
no. We're losing
I
a
think we're
person still,
Yeah. It's
but
just
it's
that
probably
the
not going to be who we
person,
want.
right. If I was
But yeah.
Tara, I would be pissed. Currently,
Once she finds this out, she will be mad. Because they don't know about it.
she'll probably put up a little bitch fest again.
Probably. But with that, that's all we really have for the episode today, guys. We do have a couple spoilers. So if you don't want to tune into spoilers, goodbye. Okay, spoilers. So we had a fake or a failed backdoor, which thank you, Brayden, for pointing out. Someone tweeted it. It was like Brayden. There was a clip of Brayden saying, "Well, if all of us can play in the veto, how can someone get backdoored?" Thank you, Brayden, for actually knowing your Big Brother knowledge. Thank you.
Thank God.
But yeah, so Tara has since nominated Jed and Beth. But before all of this happened, there's been a lot of plans happening that were happening before the nomination ceremony took place yesterday. Beth had a failed backdoor plan where her plan to Tara, which she brought up to Tara, was that she was pushing to have Tara nominate Kiefer and Brayden. And then one of the trio was apparently going to win veto. And then they just wouldn't use it. Feign like they're taking out Kiefer, but actually take out Brayden. And I'm sitting here looking at feeds last night, being like, in what universe does Tara agree to this?
No universe?
Right? Like, it just made no sense to me. But yeah, so she has since nominated the Showmance. I personally disagree. I think it should have been Jed and Ty together.
It should have been Jed and Ty, and then if veto was used, Beth should have went up.
And like the reasoning behind me saying that it should have been Jed and Ty is that Beth out of the trio is the least likely to win the veto. Ty has a very, very strong chance of winning the veto. And if Ty uses it, he's gonna use it on one of the trio, even though he's told people that he wouldn't, but I know he would. Like, I would be completely shocked if he didn't use the veto. Right. And it just means that the trio has the numbers, and whoever Tara renoms will go home. And so it's so frustrating to me. Like, I guess I'm happy that Tara's safe. I wish it was Brayden, but I'm glad that Tara's safe. But
I have a question.
Yes.
You know how we thought the feeds were down because of a challenge, like the POV.
Mm-hmm.
Is it plausible that their power is finally going to be put into the game?
It's plausible, but why do it on veto day?
The only reason I'm wondering about is because Ty got locked.
They got locked in the HOH earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I figured it had something to do with the veto because I assume the veto is probably individually timed. And so when they
Okay.
do the individually timed vetoes, they're all sequestered in different rooms in the house.
Yeah, I was just curious because I'm seeing everybody. I just seen the video of everybody getting like pulled away and stuff.
Yeah, it would be plausible that it would be the twist. I don't think they would do it the same day as the veto. So I assume it has something to do with the veto being individually timed, which is also why I feel like the feeds have been down now for 3.5, almost 4 hours, I think. And
It
I
was
assume that's
4
probably
hours
why.
ago.
Yeah, I assume that because it's been down for so long, I just assume it's veto because the individually timed vetoes do take
It's
a
just
lot longer to film.
It's just interesting to me because Brayden is locked in HOH with Tara.
Brayden's in there with Tara?
Yeah.
Well, Tara can't play.
He's doing. He still actually did pretty well.
That's interesting. I guess I don't have an answer to that because they wouldn't be because I know they're I know
So when the feeds
BBUS
went down, they were in there together.
oh because I know for BBUS they've done a thing where like the people not playing the veto the one I remember specifically is Celebrity Big Brother 2 where they're locked in the HOH and then they come up individually or is it one? No, it was Celebrity Big Brother 1.
But it looked like it was just them.
Okay. I don't know then. I mean, honestly, if it's the power, if it has something to do with the power and it's not being given to Brayden, then I don't care. And like, why would it be given to anyone other than Brayden?
It's so annoying.
But yeah, so that's all we know so far. We assume veto is probably happening right now. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's an individually timed veto just because feeds have been down for 4 hours. But again, feeds have been down not as much as they were for 7 or 8, honestly. They've been doing a little bit better with keeping feeds on longer because that's always been my big issue with Canada. But they seem to be on for a lot longer. But yeah, they've been down for 4 hours, so I assume it's probably something to do with the veto. We will know more information about the veto and all of that stuff when we come back to talk to you all Wednesday again, talking about Big Brother. But in the meantime, if you are fans of The Circle US, we will be back tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Yes, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a special guest. We have more guests.
Yes, more guests. I cannot wait to talk about those 2 episodes. I've got a lot to say, I feel like.
I also have a lot to say. I think our guest will also have a lot to say. But yeah, with that, make sure you are subscribing, following, liking, sharing, commenting, doing all those things. You can follow all of us.
And it's going to be a shorter live tonight just because nothing's going on.
If we had more to talk about as far as feeds were concerned, then we would be talking more. But
we were going to look at the alliance chart, but we're going to wait until Wednesday because Razorskate is currently working on it.
Which we love them. Thank you for all of your work throughout Big Brother season. And with that, goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
We will see you tomorrow.